Imagine an art form so personal, it was actually designed to be held in your hands. A whole world of epic stories, royal secrets, and sacred texts, all right there on a single precious page. Today, we're going to unfold the intimate and absolutely incredible world of Indian manuscript painting. I mean, really think about that. What if you could hold a whole story, a sacred text, or even a king's personal cookbook right in the palm of your hand? Well, that's the magic of manuscript painting. This is art that wasn't made for a big gallery wall, but for a personal, up-close connection.
And for centuries, this was really the main way painting was done in India. It wasn't about creating these massive public spectacles. Nope. It was about crafting these personal, precious little worlds meant for an audience of just one. So, let's do it. Let's unfold these stories page by page.
To really appreciate this art, we have to start with its most defining feature, and that's its scale. But, the name itself, miniature, can be a little misleading.
See, when we hear miniature, we might think of some hyper-detailed, microscopic work done with a single hairbrush. But the term here is actually about the overall size of the painting itself. These were personal treasures, pages from a bigger story that you could physically hold and connect with.
So try to think of these not as standalone paintings, but more like individual pages or folios from some kind of ancient, beautiful graphic novel. They weren't framed on a wall. They were carefully stored in cloth bundles. Each page often had the very verse it was illustrating written right at the top, and the whole collection was just held together by a simple single string.
But creating these masterpieces wasn't just about raw talent. There was a science to it, a really ancient and sophisticated set of rules that guided every single brushstroke.
Buried deep within a 5th century text, there's a chapter called the Chitra Sutra. For artists, this thing was the ultimate guide. It was like a definitive formula, a recipe for what made art truly great.
The Chitra Sutra lays out these 6 essential principles, which are known as the Shadanga, or the 6 limbs of painting. Mastering these 6 elements was the key to going from just a craftsman to a true master artist.
And these limbs, they covered everything an artist needed. You've got Rupeda, which is the knowledge of appearances, Pramana for perfect proportion, Bhava, infusing the work with real emotion, Lavanya, creating that aesthetic grace and composition, Sadrishya, making it resemble life, and finally Varnika Bhanga, the total mastery of the brush and colors. This wasn't just painting, it was a deeply intellectual and disciplined art form.
Okay, so with this powerful formula as a foundation, you start to see these really distinct artistic styles flourishing across India. We're going to start with 2 of the earliest and most influential, the Pala and the Jain schools.
And the differences were just striking. You had the Pala school, centered in Buddhist Eastern India, which is known for its flowing, elegant lines and more subdued colors. Then, by contrast, the Jain school in Western India was funded by this wealthy merchant community, and their art totally reflects that, with these sharp, energetic lines and just an opulent, lavish use of gold, to show both their devotion and their status. The Jain school itself went through this really fascinating evolution. The early stuff was all done on these narrow palm leaves, which you can imagine really limited the composition. But then, the introduction of paper in the 14th century, that was a total game changer. It led to this golden age of creativity and these incredibly vibrant, luxurious manuscripts.
Okay, but if you look closely at Jain paintings, you're going to notice a very peculiar feature, this further eye that seems to just jut out from the side of the face and profile. So, was this just some kind of strange mistake?
No, not at all. It was a completely deliberate artistic choice. On one level, it created this clever sense of a 3/4 view. But on a deeper level, it was interpreted as a sign of spiritual insight. The ability to see beyond the purely physical world. Pretty cool, right?
Now, as different cultures began to interact on the subcontinent, a new, kind of hybrid style of painting started to emerge, one that blended the existing Indian traditions with these new influences coming from Persia. And this became known as the Sultanate school. It basically took the vibrant color palette and certain compositional ideas from the Indian styles we've already seen, and then it fused them with Persian elements like decorative landscapes and new styles of architecture. And maybe the most charming and vivid example of this cultural fusion is this unique manuscript known as the Nimit Nama.
So this was painted for the Sultan of Mandu, and the name Nima Nama literally translates to the Book of Delicacies.
And okay, yeah, it's filled with recipes, but it is so much more than that. It has instructions for making perfumes and cosmetics, remedies for different ailments, and even tips on hunting. It's just a stunningly personal glimpse into the life and passions of a sultan. But for all these beautiful surviving works we have, the complete story of manuscript painting is like this giant, scattered puzzle that historians are still trying to solve even today.
So why is it so incredibly difficult for historians to build a complete, seamless picture of this artistic tradition? What's the holdup?
Well, the answer often comes down to this one thing: the colophon page. This was the final folio in a set, and it basically acted like the credits page of a movie. It contained all the crucial data: who paid for it, who painted it, when it was made, and where. It's the Rosetta Stone for each and every manuscript.
And here's the problem. These absolutely crucial colophon pages often went missing. Over centuries, individual folios got separated from their original sets and are now just scattered across museums all over the world. This leaves scholars with these huge gaps in the historical timeline. And when you add in the fact that these manuscripts traveled all over the place as gifts or with pilgrims, well, you're left with an incredibly complex historical puzzle.
So in the end, each one of these miniatures is so much more than just a painting. It's a visual translation of a verse of poetry, a single surviving piece of a much larger narrative. They are these beautiful, precious fragments of a story that art historians are still working, even now, to piece back together one amazing page at a time.